Thanks. It's a great honor and very exciting to be here at IxDA. It's actually my first at an IxDA conference. It's very exciting as well to talk about interaction design for education, which is very close to my heart. Also at Formula D Interactive, we designing science center environments and for museums, and so it's essentially we're dealing with learning environments. I sometimes describe it as a bit of a playground for interaction design because in this niche we're working in, we do a lot of once-off installations, prototyping. We are challenged to deal with spatial interaction as well, so which allows us to go into natural user interfaces as well. Before I'm going to show you a couple of examples of our work, mainly to highlight kind of emerging technologies and technologies we all familiar with, but which will now push into the learning sector. And before I do that, I would just like quickly open up with talking about the learning experience as we perceive it. May I ask, who of you guys enjoyed school? Oh, okay. I thought it was a rhetorical question, so. But yeah, let me talk a little bit about my own personal school experience. I perceived school as quite a closed environment with a lot of kind of restrictions, and it didn't really make me feel enabled me to, I think, to grow in the way I've hoped. Like if I go through my memories and I think about school, mainly my main memories are linked to interactions with people and certain auras of teachers, and more about the way how they taught, like maybe if they were particularly nasty or particularly nice. What I don't remember is a lot about the actual learning content and about the learning experience. And I find it quite astounding that there's so little memory around that, how it actually, what we learned and what kind of, I mean, now today, researchers call for a radical shift in education towards developing 21st century skills, which are like media literacy, collaboration, and communication skills, ability to constantly challenge the status quo, to innovate if necessary, problem-solving skills, responsibility, and ethics. So it's not really so much about the content anymore. It's more about giving young people the tools to learn for themselves and to enable them for the lifelong learning. So now 30 years later, my daughter, just got into grade 3, and each time when I, enter this environment again, I'm so surprised, how little this changed in 30 years, and you still find the same schedules, 2 hours maths, 2 hours English, 2 hours arts, age groups, etc., etc. So that is really surprising, I find. So I want to ask a question: why is, it seems that formal education seems to be so change resistant? I won't be able to answer this in this talk, but I think really interaction design in conjunction with the technologies available is here, is challenged to maybe come up with some disruptive ways of challenging this education dinosaur that we're seeing here. The same way like other tools have caused these ripples in our personal and work lives in the last decade. So in summary, I mean, the current learning experience is really about, learning is seen as work, even by primary school kids. Learning is disconnected from real life experiences of learners. Learning is usually restricted to classroom. Learners are divided into age groups irrespective of personal development and preferences. Learners have little or no influence on learning content and methods. That's quite interesting. There's quite a few studies out there that actually confirm that it does in fact add to the value of learning and to the outcome if you involve learners into making decisions around how they learn and what they learn. It's a no-brainer, actually. Still, it doesn't happen. Learners have little or no influence on the learning content and methods, insufficient integration of information technology and interfaces. So now, my wish list for learning of the 20th century, first century, and is also confirming what I said before, is that learning should be rewarding, propelled through curiosity, inherent to human nature. It should be linked to real-world experiences and challenges. Should be open to activities outside the classroom. There's nice concepts that are happening now, occasionally, like the flipped classroom, where a teacher team started to record some of the lectures for kids that were sick or couldn't make it into class, put those online, and suddenly a whole community of kids now suddenly got into this online presentations, which enabled them to use the classroom to debate and to collaborate rather than listening to a one-sided kind of lecture. Learning is linked to real world. Okay, learning should be open activities outside the classroom. We have learn groups are flexible towards personal interest and progress. Learners influence what they learn and how. Access to state-of-the-art technology. So interaction design is really important here because, I mean, right now there's probably immense, drastic budgets being spent on fitting out computer labs, you know, where you kind of push a whole lot of machines into one room, which is completely completely counter what we know today about how we want to integrate technology into the classroom. So still you're having those models and happening every day. So there's a report from the national, new Media Consortium that just came out this January, which suggests 6 key technologies for learning in pre-college education. So they kind of predicting within 12 months that mobile computing and tablet computing will hit kind of mainstream in classrooms, that within 2 to 3 years they're seeing game-based learning and personal learning environments becoming major tools in classrooms and in learning. Long-term, augmented reality, natural user interface. So I'm just going to touch on each one of those a little bit and show some examples of what relating to our own work and to illustrate these. So mobile devices and apps, that's already happening. Specifically, you know, on the African continent and in South Africa in particular, I mean, mobile technology is much bigger than the internet from base computers. So I mean, there's been a lot said about this mobile technology. There's a couple of very good projects which using smartphones and text-based systems to get learning activities going via phones. But interesting, I'll show you this short clip here.
We develop apps for the iPad in grade 7. The reason we have a project in grade 7 where the children create apps for the iPad is because it's not enough for them to just be users of technology. They've got to learn to be able to create content for that technology, to truly understand it. And so we encourage them to develop and design the different aspects of an app so that they fully understand how an iPad works and so that they can use it in ways that we didn't even think possible.
Our app is called Soccer Fever. And basically what it is, a game where you have a goalpost and you have to try shoot into it and hit the target.
I'm a sound engineer in the group, and like my job is, like, if it scores, like everybody's gonna go woo, and then there's gonna be like those 2 people like blowing the vuvuzelas, like, yeah.
One of the big issues about education is getting children to engage with their learning. It's a very engaged device. So children feel engaged just because they have to touch it and because it's very tactile in the way they use it. The textbook just doesn't cut it when it comes to that sort of thing.
I just show this example because I find it really brings some interesting points. Firstly, that, you know, like Apple and Core Group did here, just throw a couple of iPads at the classroom, can disrupt, you know, this traditional setting and bring also new content. Like now you can, media literacy is taught, and these guys are even creating their own apps. But where it can even become more powerful than that, which says like the one laptop per child recent study by Negroponte and his team. They have given 20 tablet computers to children in a very remote rural village in Ethiopia, kids who reportedly haven't even had seen road signs before. 6 months later, they came back. Okay, there were some educational apps installed on the tablets. 6 months later, they came back, and these kids could already, pronounce English words, can spell them, and a whole lot more. And even one of the kids, a 10-year-old, managed to circumvent the security system, which basically locked certain apps in place and disabled that, got access to the camera, which was for some reason also disabled, and took video and used the whole device in a way that he wasn't supposed to be. So that's also teaching us something, that access to these technologies now becomes very easy. Game-based learning. Another little anecdote from my own experience with my schooling my daughters. Now there was my younger daughter. Now she goes to school. It was the first day at school, and the headmaster, he said, "Now kids, welcome everybody." And so this is a new chapter in life that starts for you all, and this is the chapter of learning. And I almost had to chuckle a little bit because as if they didn't learn before. It's really this view which is a bit problematic, because it underlines that playing and games are still not really seen as really beneficial, or really not on the same value as school education. But I mean, now even US, on the top levels, US government and on the top level of policymakers now realize that games actually do have a good impact on learning, and advocating this. I mean, games are really starts from early ages, goes to role play, functional play firstly, constructive play, role play, and then from the age of 4, kids start to engage in a game. So basically the difference between a game and play is that a game is according to a predefined or agreed upon set of rules, whereas play is free without rules. So now starting to apply these rules, you need discipline, comprehension, negotiation, knowledge application, cognitive and sensory skills, and abstraction. So all of these skills are required and mediated by almost any game. So with that in mind, you can confidently say that even the most violent kind of ego shooter game has some kind of learning effect in the end. I mean, about the side effects, obviously. Here's an example of our own work for a parastatal energy provider. It's a SimCity type of game where you can your task is to manage energy of a city with managing demand and supply of the city. And it was initially conceptualized to be as part of an awareness campaign and a part of the energy savings campaign. And now currently it's being rolled out to some South African schools for an evaluation phase, because we realized that the game is, has so much information in there. In fact, we worked with a team of engineers from Eskom who provided us realistic data which feeds into the game. So it's pretty close to a simulation, actually, and could also be used now for teaching of the workers at Eskom themselves. Personal learning environment. So this is a very exciting field for interaction design. I think that's where it's really where you're going to make a big difference. So personal learning environment is again one of those things the report mentioned as being supposedly to be adopted in the next 2 to 3 years. But there's very little actually. Although everybody's got an idea around what a personal learning environment could be or is, there's very little descriptions around the affordances of such a system, what it entails. There are a few sketches out there, a few concepts, a few companies who offer products that go there. But I mean, the potential of this is just immense. I mean, the idea is essentially as that, you know, this is how education works at the moment. So, you know, everybody's kind of channeled into the same direction and has to work at the same pace and the same rhythm, and working in age groups, and whereas everything else happens on another stream. So, personal learning environment would overcome that, would allow you to work beyond those means and to draw together. Let me give you an example. Here's something we, a while ago, a South African bank approached us, and they said that for the graduates, I mean, this is a couple of years back, for the graduates, they wanted to do create a learning environment which would allow them to share content, collaborate, and debate. So, so we created this. This is an example of, you know, using obviously like a 3D environment, which all these icons representing content used by learning. The interesting aspect is that we're using a fuzzy kind of search engine, which is not like switching, you know, on and off. And so here your preferences, you can just set those sliders according to how you feel, your interest. And then when you press search, the environment rearranges the icons, bringing up the icons or the content that is relevant to you up close, and the ones that is not so relevant a little bit further away. So this was kind of like a concept prototype. It has unfortunately never gone live, never been taken further. There was a lot happening at that time. At the same time, Netflix came about. So it's quite a few years back. But I mean, I'm showing this as an example, not for, you know, what a learning environment should be. I think what a learning environment, personal learning environment could be is a lot more than that. And just for me, I mean, it could include, imagine like you accessing a learning environment that would firstly show you some kind of like an education health status. So like an ambient way that immediately shows you, okay, I'm doing fine, I'm not doing not so good, but in a very ambient way. Then you would have something like a learning timeline, and this timeline would show you, like similar to the Facebook timeline of, in the same concept, but it would show you kind of your timeline of learning throughout, from cradle to grave, essentially, because it was also an opportunity to overcome this idea of that learning is contained to the schooling experience. Then you had a central learn zone, a collaboration space, a focus area where where you're sharing, where you're here and now, and this is what you're doing right now. You can invite peers into these sessions, etc. A module more, something like an app store for learning, but now it's not only about apps. Important here that is needs to be combined extramural activities like museum visits, internships at companies, maybe courses that you book. And learning apps, games, etc. So everything needs to be kind of harnessed in this, or could be harnessed within this electronic environment. Scheduling assistant. So peer network and interaction tools. So we can basically connect to like a social network, but a learning network. A learning path tool. So here, this is very interesting. I mean, it has been explored by LinkedIn in a beta version, and I couldn't find it online anymore. I don't know what happened to the idea, but there was a career pathing tool. The big data we have about careers and education, how everything interlinks, activities of user, now LinkedIn also with the social networking aspect as well. You could actually, at any time, based on the activities, on the learning, on the courses, on the education, what you do at any kind, you could somehow have a view on data, what people with these similar steps, where they are in their lives and their careers. I mean, obviously part of the media literacy education would as well to take that not, I mean, it's hard, I mean, you can't predict futures necessarily. I mean, you can see certain tendencies, and part of the education of people need to be that this needs to be seen as a possibility, as a guidance, and not necessarily determining their actions. Evaluation center, where at any time, if you feel comfortable, you would go enter those centers. You can be then evaluated, evaluate yourself, ask peers for an evaluation, endorsements, or for from tutors or teachers. Augmented reality for learning has been now supposed to be in the next 5-year time window. I think it's almost, I mean, it's almost closer than that, it feels, since we, I mean, just in the last holiday, we used kind of sky view to, with my kids to look at the night sky, and just looking for this presentation, looking for an image that showed kids using it, brought me to a school that actually already applied augmented reality in their classroom to educate their kids about let them kids play around with and learn about astronomy. So there are other augmented reality applications which are a bit different to, I mean, where we also engage, where we're actually using real objects that are then enhanced with digital environments that we use then, for example, here in this example, which I want to show you quickly. This is a recycling game. The kids have to get the waste into the right bins. They're using a real broom. Struggles a bit. We're also working on actually quite close to finalizing this project, where you're also working with different color heads. This is to illustrate and inform like about the De Bono. You guys know the De Bono concept to like the thinking hats. So you go into, so this explains you can put on a different hat on the floor. We have a projected scenario which changes according to which hat you have. And that's usually like used in meetings, so you can analyze a problem from different directions. Like, for example, red hat is emotive, green hat is environment, white hat is a more analytical chapter. So this is also a possibility, kind of an augmented reality application. Natural user interfaces have always been close to my heart. I mean, already at Fraunhofer Institute in Germany, I worked with natural user interfaces and adoption in learning environments. But I mean, there's one elementary, always which pops up, one elementary problem with natural user interfaces. There are no natural users, really. Unless you go, like Negroponte, you go to a village in Ethiopia, and with kids, that is maybe where you get kind of like these users who don't have any experience with these kind of technologies before. I mean, we have very, funny. I have seen very funny situations where we, for example, were working with a point interface, which is one of the most basic natural interactions you can think of. You can point at something and it's happening. So we have a tracker which points the gesture, and then you can point at the screen and activate, navigate a menu. So users somehow is always doing something like that because the tracking unit is there, or they're trying to do something like that. And sometimes I have to bite my tongue and say, come on, why can't you be a bit more natural? But obviously they're all used to using devices the way that we use devices right now. And However, I mean, we can already see, like the previous example, that some more natural user interfaces, I mean, like have opened up. We see 2-year-olds with iPads. We see old people now getting into technology as well, because it has broken down these barriers a lot. But still, I mean, like in a collaborative environment like this, you really wonder if that is now the final call. I mean, obviously it's not, but here for co-located collaboration, for example, these seem to be, like these isolated workstations, is still something that needs to change. Example from our own work, we've been early adopters of Multitouch in South Africa. We installed this Multitouch wall, which educates like visitors of the Cape Town Aquarium around frogs and local species of frogs. And so here, this environment can, you can see like up to 3-4 people at the same time can use it and have still a coherent environment, coherent interface with creates an awareness of them to participating in one action. Although one user may decide pick a side of the screen themselves, or others may do things together. There is one action that happens, so there's one trigger that freezes all the interaction of users and actually forces people to collaborate on this thread quiz, which you can see on the screen here at the moment. So before that is resolved, nothing else can happen. Manipulating objects is one of the most elementary forms of interaction. So already babies engage in kind of this functional play, exploring properties of objects. So, I mean, one of the huge advantages of digital technology in classrooms is that you can you can bring up topics and analyze through simulation, bring up things that are actually not there. So you're referring to context and topics that you don't have ready to. So this is now where tangible objects adds another layer. I mean, often, in interfaces using reference objects like, icons and pointers. So now the properties of tangible interactives is obviously a lot more refined. You have weight, you can have 3D space, you have textures, and all of that can, now be applied to learning interfaces. We been working with the Reactivision platform which is quite worked very well for us, for rapid prototyping with tangible interfaces. And we just recently designed a virtual chemistry lab, which allows people to use reference objects that represent certain chemicals and tools and place them in a proximity to each other on a physical table, which on the table itself you have this projection, like for ones of you familiar with Reactivision and know this kind of interaction already. But here we have we had quite a good response from science and application.
This offers a short audio description of the experience and suggests different tool cards that could be added.
Water enables silver nitrates and magnesium to make contact and react. Our magnesium-silver nitrate mixture contains more magnesium than silver nitrate. The excess magnesium ignites in the heat of the reaction and burns with a bright flash.
Tool cards are used to display more detailed information about the experiment. The thermometer card displays the temperature of the reaction. The molecule card shows the microscopic views of the reaction at an atomic level. The chemical formula card displays the chemical formula for the reaction.
Yeah, this was a very typical South African accent. So yeah, so we have this installed in one science center. Got very good positive feedback. But now with the thinking was, okay, so how could this be used in schools? Because we don't have a client for this particular project. We said, okay, let's prototype a little bit and see how we can use this in schools. The constraints for schools, specifically public schools in South Africa, is always budget. So we thought like a big, like a table installation like that it's quite a chunk of money. The other constraint we thought was that it needs to be much more flexible, more, lightweight and movable as well. And so we came up with another prototype, which we then tested in schools, which was basically that's a pre-stage of the current model that we have, which plugs into a standard computer system. And the drawback here is that we're kind of moving back, almost moving backwards from the reactive vision model with a projection overlaying the objects to a kind of screen and almost like a desktop keyboard type setup. So this is the drawback, but even this works quite well, which is I'm going to show you a little clip and then discuss it while it's running. So you can see here the girl in front. So she's in possession of all the objects, and so she's kind of controlling the stack. Now looking at collaboration, if she would be in control of the keyboard or the mouse, it would be very difficult for the other girl to get her part of the show. But we're seeing like this interface actually enables her to also get involved, as we can see just now.
Shows like what it is, and then you play around in the computer, then like it shows like into detail what it does. Yeah, it's very interactive.
What you like about the interactive part? I mean,
well, it's better than just sitting and teacher telling you things, because you're actually doing something.
You're actually moving around, you can control it.
Do you think it's why is it better to move? Sorry, I'm just getting into the why question. Why is it better to move things around?
Because I think you kind of like lose. You almost in a way you lose. You lose interest sometimes if the teacher is just talking to you and you're doing nothing.
You start thinking about other things. So this kind of you concentrate on what you're doing.
So yeah, I mean, there was obviously a lot more feedback we got out of there. Just highlighted here a few points that came out. So so we're going to continue work on this. But one of what we realized here is as well that we did a lot of testing with learners. What we didn't do initially is set up some testing with teachers as well, and it became very obvious to us now when kind of engaging schools and talking to teachers that they had a lot to say about their experiences, how they think that this technology can fit into their environment. And quite also obvious is that this is, as a simulation tool and demonstration tool, is very limited in what it can do. I mean, it can literally only show you what is predefined, and so we also realized that it would be good for introduction of certain content. But the ultimate next step, or the next step for us, is now really going to be to what we're working on at the moment, to create for this specific application, create a content management system, which now instead of having a simulation with limited functionality, we now creating a tool that would allow students to research, be it on the web or in their own lab, and do experiments, capture those on video, and then assemble it in this application which then allows them to present it in class and discuss it in class, and basically this kind of model making, which would be much more beneficial. And a lot of teachers also pointed us to the fact that now schools are opening much more to sharing content as well. So obviously this needs to tie in with some kind of an online sharing platform and experiments. In conclusion, formal education is in a crisis. Educators and activists call for a radical shift to new learning and teaching methods. And as technology tools promise new opportunities to innovate learning, it is up to us interaction designers to design the interfaces to support learners in acquiring essential skills for the 21st century. Okay. Thanks very much.